This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump promising to announce a major batch of new tariffs tomorrow on what he's calling Liberation Day. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Special elections in Florida with national implications.
Opponent is endorsed by Bernie Sanders.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The Trump administration says it has deported more criminals.
17, Tren de Aragua.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On Wall Street, it's day one of Q2 today, and a losing Q1 is in the books for stocks. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The DOJ signals an end to the Georgia election case, and Congresswoman now out of the House Freedom Caucus.
A judge has blocked the release of public records that show the bodies of actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. I'm Jennifer King.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump says he's getting ready to make a major announcement tomorrow, expected to be a potentially historic number of new tariffs to go into effect, calling it Liberation Day in America. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
With rock star Kid Rock standing beside him in the Oval Office, the president explaining to reporters why he's pushing so hard to institute tariffs on goods coming into the country.
We have $36 trillion in debt for a reason, and that accumulates over a long period of time. So I think what you're going to be seeing over the next couple of days will be very inspiring to a lot of people.
Trump says the United States has been ripped off by trade partners for too long.
I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country, because how we could have afforded to do what we did, we help everybody, and they don't help us. The term I like best probably is the liberation of America.
That Liberation Day will reportedly come in the form of reciprocal tariffs tailored to individual countries, matching what he believes is the burden each country has placed on the United States. Republican Senator Tim Sheehy admits to CNN these sweeping tariffs will likely cause prices on most items to increase.
There's absolutely going to be short-term pain. The president's been clear about that. Everyone has. I mean, if you're going to remodel your house to make it better in the end, it's going to be really annoying in the short term when your house is getting remodeled. And there's drywall dust everywhere and there's workers in your living room. The reality is that remodel has got to happen in order to make things stronger and more stable on the back end.
Fellow Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville on Fox News explains Congress needs to do its part to help U.S. taxpayers deal with the resulting higher prices.
We can control the tax cuts. We have to get those done, and we have to get it done this week. And we'll let President Trump do the tariffs. We do the tax cuts.
But will the American public go along with it? A Fox News poll out Monday found 56% of registered voters disapprove of the president's handling of the economy, 43% approve, and most said high prices are still their chief concern. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responding to that poll on Fox News.
The president is not only trying to fix the mess created by the previous administration's incompetence and reckless spending, he is trying to fix decades of unfair trade practices that have ripped our country off, that have sent jobs overseas.
Trump hopes the tariffs will rejuvenate U.S. manufacturing and create more jobs inside the United States. Stocks finished the first quarter down a little more than 4.5% after a rally on Monday, the worst quarter in 2.5 years. John Stolnis, Washington.
Voters in 2 Florida districts will be heading to the polls, casting ballots today in 2 special congressional elections. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports that while the 2 Democrat candidates did well in fundraising, the 2 GOP candidates are still favored to win in seats previously held by Republican congressmen.
Special elections in Florida could expand Republicans' slim majority in the U.S. House. Republicans typically hold office in the 2 districts voting today, but there's been some enthusiasm among Democrats. In Florida's 6th congressional district, Republican State Senator Randy Fine and Democrat Josh Weil, a public school teacher, are on the ballot. That race to determine who replaces current Republican Congressman Michael Waltz. Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley told Fox News that he's confident Republicans will hang on to the majority.
It's going to be a hold, and we're going to continue to the work that we're doing in Congress to work on the president's agenda.
Fine told Fox and Friends he's feeling Election Day momentum.
The important thing is for those who agree with President Trump, who support the Trump agenda. My opponent is endorsed by Bernie Sanders. For the people who support President Trump, to go to voterandyfine.com, find their polling place, make a plan to vote, tell their friends, and show up. When that happens, we're going to win.
And Florida Congressman Mike Herodopoulos chimed in with Fox and Friends on the race.
Democrats have truly flooded the zone, spending over $10 million in a very short period of time on a nasty negative campaign with the typical lies about Social Security and Medicare. Fortunately, led by President Trump and the entire Republican team, we have now had the positive message out there about Randy Fine.
In Florida's 1st congressional district, Republican Jimmy Patronis and Democrat Gay Valamont are running to replace former Congressman Matt Gaetz. I'm Clayton Neville.
Today in Wisconsin, there's a special election vote for Wisconsin Supreme Court. Gang deportations continue. An update when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning with this Spring Tuesday national forecast beginning in the West. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
In the western United States, there's an expansive storm that will cover a large area from the west coast states and then shifting all the way to the Rockies. This system is going to produce a wide variety of conditions. There'll be some rain and thunderstorms through Oregon southward to California with a moderate snow through the southern Cascades into the Sierra Nevada. Additional rain and snow showers will continue through Nevada into Idaho, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Some of the mountains could receive several inches of snow today into tonight. As the leading edge of the system moves into the plains, there will be a strengthening area of low pressure, and that will lead to some thunderstorms developing in the central plains with a mixture of rain and snow forming over the Dakotas into Minnesota. And this system will continue to deepen through the night with severe thunderstorms becoming more widespread through northern Texas, northward to southern Iowa, and a moderate to heavy snow across north and South Dakota into central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Severe storms will have the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado, and snow could accumulate more than 6 inches in parts of the northern plains. Heavy rain and severe thunderstorms shifted through the eastern states yesterday with the strongest through the southeast, but today, high pressure will be building in behind the system with just a few lingering showers along the coast first thing this morning. Much of the day will have plenty of sunshine, but it will be a cooler day with highs in the 30s and 40s in the north and warming to the 50s and 60s in the middle Atlantic. For some areas, this will be a 20 to 30 degree drop from temperatures yesterday. That's the weather across America. Huntington, West Virginia will be looking at a drier day today with sunshine and a high around 60. Fargo, North Dakota will have a mixture of rain and snow today with a high of 39. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. More members of a notorious gang have been deported from the United States to a prison in El Salvador. Lisa Dwyer reports.
Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
The Trump administration says it has deported more criminals.
17 Tren de Aragua and MS-13 illegal criminal terrorists were deported from our country back to El Salvador.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
These were convicted felons, murderers, rapists who are no longer in our country.
The men were transported to El Salvador's maximum security prison. They were led past a camera in chains with their heads forced down as they were paraded past security. The office of El Salvador's president says the prisoners include both Salvadorans and Venezuelans. Critics of the deportations question what guidelines are in place for the prisoners to ever win release, arguing that the prison is rife with human rights abuses.
The Biden administration abused to facilitate the mass illegal entry of illegal immigrants into our country. It was like a fast pass at Disneyland. That's not happening under this administration. We are encouraging illegal immigrants to actively self-deport to maybe save themselves from being in one of these fun videos.
I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Justice Department has officially dropped a Biden-era lawsuit challenging Georgia's election laws. Details from correspondent Julie Walker.
Attorney General Pam Bondi instructs the Justice Department to dismiss a lawsuit challenging election reform that Georgia Republican lawmakers passed following President Trump's 2020 loss. That lawsuit, filed in 2021, alleged the Georgia law, which in part requires IDs and less drop boxes, was intended to deny black voters equal access to the ballot. Bondi says in a statement, Georgians deserve secure elections, not fabricated claims of false voter suppression meant to divide us. The law was part of a trend of Republican-backed measures that tightened rules around voting passed in the months after Trump lost. I'm Julie Walker.
Trump on unfair trade practices rattles the markets. That and more next when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Let's find out what's happening in the markets today with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning for the first day of April trading. It's also the first day of the second quarter, with a losing first quarter in the books for stocks. The S&P 500 index touched a 6-month low yesterday before clawing its way back to finish slightly higher. But the S&P 500 index just had its first losing quarter in 3 years, impacting Americans' retirement accounts, and many people have their money in S&P 500 index funds.
This seems like an angrier president. I don't get the sense that he's not only is he not thinking right now about the market, I question whether he's thinking about the people who voted for him.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer, investors are on hold, waiting to know what is actually going to be announced by President Trump tomorrow when it comes to tariffs.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that the president will be announcing the rollback of unfair trade practices. Only the president knows what is next, but we can expect 4 pieces to the tariff wave on Wednesday. The still unknown reciprocal tariffs will be rolled out. That secondary tariff on buyers of Venezuelan oil will take effect. The auto tariffs, of course, will take effect. And the president will decide whether to let the pause on those Canadian and Mexican tariffs expire as scheduled. A White House official here told me the president has yet to make that call.
CNBC's Megan Casella in Washington. New car showrooms and dealer lots are crowded ahead of the Trump tariffs on cars.
People are out now. It's almost like toilet paper during COVID. Everybody's coming out and trying to buy the pre-tariff cars before they all disappear.
Liberty Subaru of New Jersey owner Rick DeSilva on CNBC.
It's great to see people out buying cars and not just kicking tires. The downside to that is the business that we're seeing, it's not incremental business. They were going to buy a car later on in the spring or in the summer, later on in the year, but they're seeing all the talk about tariffs, and they know they're going to be paying a lot more if they wait until they're actually ready.
Last year, the average new car price was just under $50,000. The monthly payment, $780. That's before insurance, gas, tolls, and maintenance. The tariff on a fully imported car will be 25%. Air Canada just trimmed flights to the U.S.
Air Canada, year over year, in April, the flights will be down 9%. Some have said, well, is that because nobody is booking trips? There may be some influence there. 9%, again, is not the end of the world, but it is worth noting, and that's strictly Air Canada. We're not really seeing this drop-off with other carriers, the big American carriers, in terms of U.S.-Canada flights.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. On today's watch list, we get the latest on job opportunity and labor turnover. Forbes will announce the list of the world's richest people.
All right, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, an update into the investigation of the death of actor Gene Hackman and his wife. After these messages. America in the Morning continues. Images of the bodies from the investigation into the deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife will remain under seal for now. Correspondent Jennifer King provides an update.
A judge in New Mexico has blocked the release of public records that show the bodies of actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa.
Any photographic
or visual depiction.
Judge Matthew Wilson in Santa Fe issued the injunction, siding with representatives of the Hackman estate, who said the couple took pains to stay out of the limelight in their later years and urged the seal to protect the family's privacy.
Petitioner has established that petitioner and the families of Mr. Gene Hackman and Ms. Betsy Arakawa Hackman would suffer irreparable injury unless the court grants a preliminary injunction.
Wilson said anything that does not include images of the couple's bodies could be released. The two were found in their home on February 26th. Authorities say Arakawa died from hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, while Hackman died about a week later of heart disease with complications from Alzheimer's disease. I'm Jennifer King.
Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna announced she's ending her membership with the House Freedom Caucus. It's the latest escalation in her fight against House GOP leaders over the issue of proxy and remote voting. Luna, who gave birth to her son while a member of Congress less than 2 years ago, has been trying to force a rules change to allow new parents to vote remotely or by proxy. However, the Freedom Caucus is against that move, as is House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has called proxy voting unconstitutional. Fox News reports that Luna has teamed up with Democrats on a plan aimed at forcing consideration of legislation that allows new parents in the House to vote remotely for 12 weeks around their baby's birth. America in the Morning for Tuesday, April 1st, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
How could Donald Trump serve a third term as president?
Simply to ignore the Constitution.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Russia says efforts to end its war with Ukraine are a drawn-out process. Sagar Magani, Washington.
We'll have the latest on the Southeast Asia earthquake. Arson suspected at a GOP field office. Harvard's funding now under scrutiny. And a preview of today's Wisconsin Supreme Court election.
Not a joke. TikTok might be sold by next week. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
She played a cop on TV, and now she's in trouble with the law again. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Update on severe weather. With the full forecast, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
The eastern states had some severe thunderstorms move through yesterday, with the strongest across the southeast, but high pressure is going to be building in behind the system with just a few lingering showers along the coast first thing this morning. Most of the day we'll have plenty of sunshine, but it will be a cooler day with highs in the 30s and 40s in the north and warming to the 50s and 60s into the mid-Atlantic. For some areas, this will be a 20 to 30 degree drop from temperatures yesterday, but it is close to the historical average for April Fools. The southeast will remain warmer with highs in the 70s and 80s, and in Florida, where the front remains, there will be some showers and thunderstorms, and to the south of that front, there will be some 90-degree readings. In the western states, there is a huge storm that will cover a large area from the west coast states and then shifting all the way to the Rockies. The system is going to produce a wide variety of weather. There will be some rain and thunderstorms along the Oregon coast and southward to northern California, with a moderate snow through the southern Cascades into the Sierra Nevada. Additional rain and snow showers will continue through Nevada into Idaho, Utah, Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. Some of the mountains could receive several inches of snow. And as the leading edge of this system moves into the plains, there'll be a strengthening area of low pressure, and that's going to lead to some thunderstorms developing in the central plains with a mixture of rain and snow forming over the Dakotas into Minnesota. And this system will continue to deepen through the night, with severe thunderstorms becoming more widespread through northern Texas, northward to southern Iowa, and a moderate to heavy snow across north and south Dakota into central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. Severe storms will have the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado, and several inches of snow could fall in the northern plains. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The continued comments by President Trump and others about serving a third term in the White House are starting to worry some opponents as well as political experts. Update on the story from correspondent Rich Johnson.
She didn't discount her boss or say he's just joking, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt did scold reporters about their questions about President Trump trying to seek a third term.
Look, you guys continue to ask the president this question about a third term, and then he answers honestly and candidly with a smile, and then everybody here melts down.
Leavitt's comments on the White House lawn came just hours after the president told reporters on Air Force One,
"I don't want to talk about a third term now."
But then Trump told NBC he's not joking, adding that, quote, there are methods of getting around the Constitution's explicit ban on someone serving more than 2 terms. University of Virginia professor Larry Sabato says legally,
you'd have to have both parties coming together to agree to change the 22nd Amendment, which limits presidents to 2 elective terms. That isn't going to happen.
But Sabato adds there's another way.
One way, I'm sorry to say, is simply to ignore the Constitution.
Sabato's comments courtesy of CNN. Another possible workaround, J.D. Vance runs for president with Trump as his running mate, and then Vance resigns. But the 12th Amendment addresses that, stating that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible for that of vice president. No matter how unlikely any scenario, a former Republican congressman, David Jolly of Florida, says the possibility is not something we should dismiss.
If he says that he's not ruling it out, he's not ruling it out, and we should consider it a constitutional threat.
Jolly's comment courtesy of MSNBC. I'm Rich Johnson.
Despite involvement from the Trump administration, the fighting continues between Russia and Ukraine, and some in Europe, including the president of Finland, are hoping that President Trump puts Vladimir Putin on notice that he must stop delaying coming to the table to talk peace. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports Russia describes efforts to end its war with Ukraine as a drawn-out process, and Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullins, speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, says he believes the president will take a hard line with the Kremlin if he has to.
He wants to stop the killing, full stop. And what has happened is the left has been saying that President Trump is compromised, the administration is compromised by Putin, their friendship is too close. But what President Trump was trying to do was negotiate an end to the deal of individuals dying in Ukraine because of this awful war that would have never taken place if President Trump was in office. Yeah. What has happened here is that Putin, he doesn't feel is negotiating on actual terms. He keeps delaying. And what President Trump has said right now is if he continues to play games, he's going to get tough on Russia, just like he did in 2017.
Russia says efforts to end its war with Ukraine are a drawn-out process after President Trump expressed frustration with both nations' leaders. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says the work is ongoing. He did not directly address President Trump's remarks yesterday, blasting Putin for questioning Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky's credibility.
I was disappointed in a certain way with some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that, but I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for them.
In Kyiv, Zelensky says there's no let-up in Russian attacks, showing Putin couldn't care less about diplomacy. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas says Ukraine's allies must find a way to boost pressure on Moscow.
Russia is playing games and not really wanting peace.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The death toll has surpassed 2,000 and is expected to rise following last week's massive earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports aid groups are moving into some areas while others remain cut off due to the devastation.
The World Food Programme has begun aid distributions in Myanmar after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake hit at midday Friday, killing over 1,700 people and causing widespread damage, including in the capital Naypyidaw and the second largest city, Mandalay. In a video call, the WFP's Michael Dunford describes the dire situation in the capital.
I went to a hospital yesterday where WFP started our distributions. Completely collapsed, and there were emergency crews trying to dig out either survivors or recover bodies of people who've been caught up. So, very devastating, but by all reports, the situation in Mandalay itself is much, much worse.
Dunford adds the first distribution took place yesterday and continues today at 3 or 4 sites.
That's the start of an operation which we expect we will need to scale up dramatically over the course of the next days and weeks. The devastation caused by this earthquake is immense.
Myanmar's state MRTV says the leader of the military government, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, told Pakistan's Prime Minister during a call that 2,065 people have been killed in the earthquake and about 270 missing. Relief agencies expect those numbers to rise sharply since access is slow to remote areas where communications are down. In addition, aid groups and the UN warn the disaster could exacerbate hunger and disease outbreaks in a country that's already one of the world's most challenging places for humanitarian organizations to operate because of civil war. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
An attack on Republican headquarters, and who's kicking the tires to buy TikTok. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Officials with the New Mexico Republican Party confirmed that their GOP headquarters was targeted in a suspected arson attack. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
No one was hurt in the fire at the New Mexico Republican Party HQ in Albuquerque. It happened on Sunday, and investigators are now looking into the blaze. The ATF and the FBI are involved in that investigation. Amy Barella is with the New Mexico GOP and spoke with KQRE-TV in Albuquerque.
It's very early in the investigation. I know that they're reviewing our camera footage and neighboring camera footage as well.
Fire officials say there was damage to the front entryway of the building and smoke damage throughout. The words ICE equals KKK were also spray painted on the building. The party now calling for accountability. In a statement, party leaders described the fire as a deliberate act of arson fueled by hatred and intolerance. I'm Clayton Neville.
Along with 2 congressional elections in Florida, the most expensive race for a court seat in American history will be decided today in Wisconsin. Correspondent Julie Walker has more on the story.
The first check goes to Nicholas Jacobs.
Elon Musk handing 2 potential Wisconsin voters who signed the petition decreeing judicial activism $1 million checks Sunday night, hours after the state Supreme Court rejected an attempt to stop it.
It's like everybody's going to mobilize everywhere like crazy for the next 48 hours. And I think this will be important for the future of civilization. It's that significant.
Tuesday's Wisconsin State Supreme Court election will determine the ideological makeup of a court likely to decide key issues like abortion and labor rights in a battleground state. Groups linked to Musk have spent more than $17 million to support conservative Brad Schimmel in his race against liberal Susan Crawford, the most expensive judicial race in American history. I'm Julie Walker.
The Trump administration says it is reviewing roughly $9 billion in federal grants and contracts awarded to Harvard University. The review comes after claims that the Ivy League school had allowed anti-Semitism to run unchecked on its campus following months of anti-Israel protests. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon released a statement saying, quote, Harvard's failure to protect students on campus from anti-Semitic discrimination, all while promoting divisive ideologies over free inquiry, has put its reputation in serious jeopardy, end quote. The president of Harvard responded with a statement saying that if funding were revoked, it would seriously jeopardize life-saving medical and scientific research. Last week, Columbia University in New York announced policy changes after the Trump administration announced a $400 million potential funding cut to that school. Our program continues. High winds are fanning a wildfire east of the Sierra Nevada mountains. Following that story, correspondent Jennifer King.
Hundreds of homes are under an evacuation order north of Bishop in eastern California as the silver wildfire sweeps across dry brush and ranch lands. The town in the Owens Valley is known as a gateway to recreation in the White Mountains and Kings Canyon National Park. Strong erratic winds gusting up to 65 miles per hour are driving the flames and limiting flights by firefighting air tankers. The fire started Sunday afternoon, and by Monday, CAL FIRE says it had grown to nearly 2 square miles with no containment. The U.S. Drought Monitor describes conditions in Inyo County and most of Southern California as abnormally dry to extreme drought. I'm Jennifer King.
A new poll shows both solid support and surprising concern over the handling of 2 of President Trump's key campaign promises. Correspondent Marcela Sanchez takes a closer look.
The new AP Norc poll revealed about 4 in 10 U.S. adults approve Trump's stance on the economy and trade negotiations. In November, the president drew increasing support from voters who prioritize the economy. He's rated especially negative on trade negotiations, but the poll suggests his low ratings on the economy is a warning sign for the administration moving forward. On immigration, approval ratings were higher, with half of U.S. adults agreeing with his strict agenda on the issue. Overall views on his performance were more negative than positive, with more than half disapproving of how he's handling his job as president. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
No, it's not an April Fool's joke. The Chinese-owned TikTok might be sold to an American investor by next week. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
No foolin', President Trump believes that a deal will be struck to buy TikTok from the Chinese before the April 5th deadline. Trump had this to say from Air Force One.
We have a lot of potential buyers. There's tremendous interest in TikTok. The decision is going to be my decision, as you know, through Congress. They've given me the power to make the decision.
Reuters reported on Friday that the Blackstone private equity firm is evaluating making a small minority investment in the U.S. operations of TikTok, according to people familiar with the matter. Washington has said that TikTok's ownership by ByteDance makes it beholden under the Chinese government, and Beijing could use the app to conduct influence operations against the United States. Last week, Trump also acknowledged the role China will play in getting any deal done, including, given its approval, might give them a little reduction in tariffs or something to get it done. You can find me at chuckpalm.com.
Thanks, Chuck. Turning to sports, here's Robert Workman.
Baseball Monday, the Reds ran roughshod over the Rangers 14-3. Ellie De La Cruz brought the pain. 4 hits, 2 of them out of the park, and a career-high 7 RBI. And yes, he was using one of those new torpedo bats. Mets smashed 4 homers, including a Pete Alonso granny in a 10-4 win over the Marlins. Cubs clobbered the A's 18-3 in the first big league game in Sacramento. Royals barreled over the Brewers 11-1. White Sox held the Twins to just 2 hits in a 9-0 whitewash. Dodgers drilled the Braves. LA now 6-0. Atlanta starting the season 0-5, and its big free agent bat, Jurickson Profar, suspended 80 games for a positive PED test. Padres are 5-0 after a win over the Guardians. NBA, the Thunder bolted past the Bulls 145-117 for their 10th win in a row. OKC has long since wrapped up a playoff spot and home court advantage in the Western Conference playoffs and is now 28-1 against teams from the Eastern Conference. College basketball, the women's Final Four is set. Texas took down TCU last night to become the 3rd top seed to advance to Tampa, but no number 1 sweep like on the men's side, as 2-seed Connecticut got 31 points from Paige Beckers to beat USC. So the Huskies will meet overall top seed UCLA in one national semifinal on Friday, while the Longhorns will face reigning national champion South Carolina. That's Tuesday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. Hollywood actress in trouble with the law, plus SpaceX rescued astronauts speak out. Those stories when America in the Morning continues after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Emmy-winning actress Kim Delaney is in trouble with the law, arrested following an alleged domestic dispute after an argument with her partner became violent. Details from Kevin Carr.
Emmy-winning actress Kim Delaney and her partner James Morgan were arrested on Saturday morning following a domestic dispute. According to TMZ, who broke the story, police were called to their home in Los Angeles by Delaney after the couple had been arguing for days. Morgan had left on Friday night, and when he returned on Saturday, Delaney had tried to hit him with her car. Both were arrested, and Delaney was charged with felony assault likely to cause great bodily injury, while Morgan was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence. Delaney's long career in television started in soaps with All My Children. Her breakout role came in 1995 with NYPD Blue.
What you meant to Bobby, what you mean to me, I don't have the words.
Delaney has starred in other series like Chicago Fire, CSI Miami, and Army Wives, along with a multitude of TV movies and a much-publicized return to soaps on General Hospital in 2020.
So get ready. Kim Delaney returns to daytime this week on ABC's General Hospital.
Delaney has swerved into controversy before. She faced a drunk driving charge in 2002 and sought treatment for alcohol abuse in 2003. Most notably, during an event to honor former Defense Secretary Robert Gates in 2011, she was escorted off stage in the middle of an incoherent and rambling speech.
My own father is a Korean War vet. Yes, we have...
Delaney and Morgan are expected to be arraigned today in Los Angeles. I'm Kevin Carr.
Astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore are speaking out after what was supposed to be a week-long stay in space turned into a 9-month adventure after a SpaceX rescue finally brought them home to Earth. More from correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
NASA's celebrity astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams had this to say when asked if they would fly on Boeing's Starliner capsule again.
Yes, because we're going to rectify all the issues that we encountered. Yeah. We're going to fix them. We're going to make it work.
In their first news conference since returning to Earth 2 weeks ago, Wilmore says Boeing, NASA, and even himself were responsible for what happened.
Responsibility with Boeing? Yes. Responsibility with NASA? Yes. All the way up and down the chain. We all are responsible. We all own this.
After Boeing's Starliner's thrusters malfunctioned on the way to the space station, the pair finally caught a ride home on a SpaceX flight after 286 days in space. NASA wants 2 competing U.S. companies providing taxi service to and from the space station. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
That's our show for today, Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.